Mr. Astorino, and Mr. Latimer. Mr. Astorino.
Thank you, Lee. First of all, thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank the Business Council for their partnership in our 8 years. Dr. Marsha Gordon, thank you very, very much. Tony and the entire board and John Ravitz. And thank you for being here tonight. And of course, George, thank you. It's good to be with you, and we look forward to a spirited debate in the next hour. You know, when I ran in 2009, I ran for a purpose. This county had been spiraling out of control. Taxes were accumulating, driving people out, small businesses. We saw big businesses leaving, like Blue Sky Studios, Starwood Hotels. And when I came into office, I ran for one reason, to stop the tax madness. And we have done that. And we're righting the ship here in Westchester County. And I go by what we call the 3 Ps. Protecting taxpayers, we've done that. Preserving essential services, and promoting economic development. And those are sort of our guiding star in everything that we've done along the way. Now, protecting taxpayers, we have not raised the county tax levy in the entire 7 years, with an eighth on deck. In fact, we cut the county levy by 2%, from $560 million to $548 million. That's indisputable. The second part, preserving essential services, I know can be subjective, but we have made sure that we got rid of the waste, and we've actually put money into the services and making sure it gets to the people who need it. Our social services department has topped a $600 million budget for the first time ever. And promoting economic development, and I would argue that's the most important of the 3, because that's how you pay for the first 2. And that is how you have an economy that grows. You have an increase in population, which we've had, because people actually want to come here. So we dealt with a crisis when we first came in, spiraling taxes, $166 million deficit. That was my first gift as the county executive, and having to deal with that. And we got through it. And we've got a strong economy in here in Westchester, one of the lowest unemployment rates all of New York State. Things are moving in the right direction, and that's why I continue to go to work with a smile every day for every challenge ahead.
And that will also be 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'm George Latimer, the Democratic candidate for Westchester County Executive. I want to thank the Business Council of Westchester for making this debate an opportunity for all of us to participate in. This county is at a crossroads, and as much as I'd like to think that this is morning in America, it isn't. We're in a very dangerous situation, and the next 4 years, the decisions we make in the next 4 years, will drive the train in the correct direction or in the inappropriate direction. Rob Astorino, who I like as a person, has mismanaged this government. He has decimated the operating departments of this government, so it does not function effectively to deliver the services that are necessary. We have a planning department, a DPW department that are a shell of what they used to be. We're dealing with one-shots to finance our budgets. We don't have a surplus. We have a $15 million hole that we have to plug because we could not deliver that budget in a balanced fashion. We have labor obligations that continue to grow year after year that have not been addressed. They represent a potential day of reckoning ahead of us. And we've been borrowing for ongoing expenses. We've been involved in things as esoteric as tax anticipation notes since the beginning of this administration, which have only grown. And it's given us a level of fiscal stress that rates us 53rd out of 57 counties in terms of our fiscal health and our fiscal responsibility. Now, you can take $4 million and you can pummel me with TV ads and with printed ads. And, of course, that's politics. But those ads can't change the crisis that we face. And the choice between you, if you're a voter, and anybody in Westchester County is, what do you want to happen in the next 4 years? I'm committed to being county executive for the next 4 years, to work through these difficulties, to work through these problems intelligently, the same way that I did when I was chairman of the Westchester County Board of Legislators. And I did that on a bipartisan basis, working with both sides of the aisle, working with the business community, working with all the different players in the game. And without the entourage, without the impressive thinking process that goes into this. So I'm prepared tonight to debate each of these issues forcefully and intelligently and give you a reason to support me this November 7th.
And it will go to Mr. Astorino. Westchester's economic health and vitality are critically important to the county's future, given a highly competitive economic environment. What is your plan as the county executive, which would be for the 3rd term, to retain and attract businesses to the county and to assure that there's a well-trained labor force to match employment needs?
Well, first off, let's talk about what we have done. When we first got in, as I said, people were leaving, including many businesses. PepsiCo was on the verge of leaving to go to Texas. We worked with them. They stayed here. They doubled down on their corporate headquarters. That's a great story and great news. In the 7 years since we've been county executive, we have one of the lowest unemployment rates in all of New York State. We also have had 44,000 new private sector jobs being created in this county, and I'll tell you why. Because we did what business needs. That's predictability. We focused on arresting the tax increases that were driving businesses and people out, and as a result, we cut the county property tax levy 2% and held it flat for the next 6 years. That's a certainty that they need. We've also worked out with our labor unions contracts that they could live with, but we've been very aggressive in promoting economic development. Our local development corporation, as well as our industrial development agency, has been absolutely energized in going out and creating jobs and helping things like healthcare, White Plains Hospital, the medical center. All this construction is because we worked with them as we're supposed to do and gave them some of the sales tax exemptions that they need to create jobs and expand the economy. And that goes for little businesses too. We also have worked very well with some of our small businesses and giving them the tools that they need, because we do have some of the expertise and we can work with them to create the capital that they need, which is oftentimes what is the biggest obstacle for both women and minority business institutes and enterprises, as well as small businesses.
Rebuttal would be 2 minutes to Mr. Latimer.
Well, there's a fluid number here in terms of how many new jobs have been developed during this administration. Rob has said at a various point in time there were 55,000 new jobs. Now he said 44,000. I saw an ad that said 40,000. The New York State Department of Labor says that over the course of this administration, 20,500 jobs were created. That's less than half of the amount that he's pointing to. And that was because we began that administration at the end of the Great Recession, when jobs were at a low ebb and starting a rise. So I think the real issue here is, what are we doing constructively to work with the business community, not to try to set up a New York City office that really has no functional purpose to help us grow business development. Had to close it up because it wasn't performing that function. The things that we need to focus on in this county, as a county government working as a partner with the business community, because this is not going to be done by government, it's going to be done in a partnership. It's going to be focusing on our institutions of higher education, our healthcare institutions, to try to make sure that they retain and grow and build a source of that growth around the healthcare industry and around the education industry. We're going to have to look more aggressively at our infrastructures, our roads, our bridges, and the infrastructure that we need to put in place, such as broadband, so that everywhere in Westchester County where a business could come into, they know that they would have a selling advantage over Bergen and Passaic and Rockland and Nassau County, because in Westchester we would have the best possible connection for them. Our transportation, our affordable housing. Businesses won't move here if the bulk of their workforce don't have the opportunity to live in a housing situation that they can afford. And how we regulatorily streamline what we do, working with the local governments to try to change that process to make it easier for businesses to function, and how we target our IDA benefits. All of those things are necessary going forward. And we're going to be working in a very competitive environment, because every other county and every other city is ramping up their efforts. And I think we need to do more. I think we need to do better.
And the next 30 seconds to you, sir.
Okay, how do you build an economy that moves, that businesses want to come in or stay? It's because, first of all, you're business friendly, and we are. The previous administration and the Board of Legislators that were led by George Latimer were not. That's why they decided to leave. We work with the business community. But the biggest thing we did, we held the line on taxes. That helps small businesses. That helps the big companies come in as well. When George Latimer was on the county board, for those 12 years, they raised the taxes 46%, chasing out businesses and people with it. The budget exploded from $1.1 billion to $1.5 billion. Our budget is $1.8 billion today, the same as it was when I walked in the door. That's the kind of certainty that businesses look for.
Mr. Astorino, the question will be to you. For many years, the terms of the affordable housing settlement with the federal government appear to be resolved after many years, but going forward, is it realistic to think that the county can continue to grow the supply of affordable housing, and if so, what is your plan to do so?
Absolutely. You know, the housing that is needed in this county is unquestionable. It's a matter of resources and land, but we're clearly working with developers. You know, the HUD settlement, which was before I got into office but inherited that, We were supposed to build 750. We built 900. So we don't have an obstacle with regard to a philosophy to building affordable housing. Absolutely not. But affordable housing is, in many ways, unaffordable to build. It's very, very expensive. So we have built, over the course of my 7.5 years or so, almost 1,500 units of affordable housing in Westchester. So we certainly agree that there is a need for affordable housing. How you do it and where you do it, well, you have local control, and that's one of the biggest things that I fought. When I was fighting the federal government, it was not to be obstinate. It was to stick up for our county. People like George Latimer sided with HUD. He would cut and run. That's not what we do. And we did it in a bipartisan way, by the way, because everything that we did had the approval of the Board of Legislators. We also had supervisors like Nancy Seligson, a Democrat. We had Peter Parsons in Lewisboro and others who stood with me when their communities were attacked wrongfully by the previous administration. So we were building housing. That was never the issue. But when they were attacking Westchester, calling us despicable terms, with no proof whatsoever, we knew we were right. And you're darn right I'm going to stand up for our communities every step of the way, and I did. And at times, I was the lone voice. But you know what? In the end, we were proven right. We were right. Westchester zoning is not an obstacle to building affordable housing with regard to race. It is certainly not.
Okay.
It's an expensive place. We totally agree with that.
Okay, thank you. We'll stay on the clock because we want to have questions from the audience as well. Mr. Latimer, 2 minutes.
What Rob was proven right was that when Donald Trump became president, they gave him a rubber stamp of vindication. And he had a victory lap around the county being vindicated. Here's what that vindication cost you. $35 million worth of federal aid. That aid, CDBG money every year of $5 million, home funds of $2 million, would have meant better improvement in Sleepy Hollow, in Tarrytown, in Portchester, in Mamaroneck, in all of the urban consortium counties. We lost control of our Section 8 program because of Rob's vindication. And the fact that he stood in the schoolhouse door when he could have made a hard negotiation in that first year. He could have gone to Chuck Schumer and said, Senator Schumer, I'm a Republican, you're a Democrat, help me solve this thing in an effective way. But he didn't do that. He did the same thing that he does in terms of his relations with the state government. Whenever he sees a Democrat in charge, he attacks the Democrat. And he says that, well, we have a different philosophy. But that philosophy doesn't add one stitch of affordable housing. And you're going to need allies at different levels of government. You're not going to be able to have the luxury of standing in the schoolhouse door. Now, it gets you on Fox News. When you're running for governor, it makes the people in upstate New York very happy to see you socking it to the Obama administration. But you tell Sleepy Hollow what they lost. You tell Mamaroneck what they lost in Tarrytown because of that obstinance, when you could have negotiated that deal within the first year of your administration, but you didn't do it. The principle you stood on was a dog whistle to certain people in the base that support him, when he should have said, I'm going to be pragmatic, solve the problem, and avoid a 6-year battle that was unnecessary.
So you should apologize to every person in Westchester County who defended the county, who did not want the federal government having control over local zoning, which is exactly what this was about. That's why Democratic administrators, that's why Democratic supervisors and elected officials stood with me. But for you to sit there and throw out George Wallace, for you to sit there and do the dog whistle thing, is truly the low of the low. And what it proves is that you don't have the fortitude to stand up to whomever is in power when they are going to attack our county. And I will never apologize for defending this county.
Okay. We're going to have to cut into Mr. Astorino's applause at the end by 4 seconds. So we're going to, I'm going to turn to you with the next question. Well, let me give you the question. Okay. I'm up to the question, right? Yeah. Okay, thanks. I thought I got out of order here. Okay, so conveniently, you have a Republican administration in Washington. You guys seem to almost know what my next theme is, because President Trump certainly brings his own brand of leadership to governing. That's probably an understatement. How do you see this change affecting Westchester? And please note any specific differences you see from the Obama years and how you would deal with the changes now with the Trump administration. A minute and a half, sir.
Well, President Trump is prepared to take away the tax deductibility of your local property taxes. That's bad for everybody in Westchester County. If you want to stand up for Westchester County, you'd speak out on that issue. If you're prepared to accept a $54 billion cut in domestic spending, then prepare to see a cut in bus transportation and affordable housing funding and a host of different areas that will affect Westchester County. If you're comfortable with this administration saying to the people who marched with racist and anti-Semitic phrases in Charlottesville, and when the president says, well, there's some good people on both sides, if you're prepared to stand by that, then you tell the people of Westchester County who you're standing up for. I don't think you're standing up for Westchester County when you stand behind Donald Trump on these issues. Now, I hope that this president will have a moment of clarity in which he will see things a little bit differently. Perhaps he'll put the Twitter machine aside a little bit and deal with problems as they really exist. But as long as Donald Trump continues to do the things he does, then we need to speak up about that. You're very vocal with the things he didn't like in the Obama administration, but he's been as quiet as a church mouse ever since the first of the year under the Trump administration. Donald Trump criticizes Mika Brzezinski. Rob is on the radio, WR 710, making light of the terrible things that Donald Trump had said. So I think this is a critical moment to determine whether or not this president of the United States has your support no matter what he does. I will judge him positively when I see him do something positive. Right now what I'm watching is a terrible administration and behavior, and I'm watching Rob Astorino saying nothing about it because he's an ally of Donald Trump. It's as simple as that.
2 minutes to you, sir.
This is like a Trump drinking game. How many times can you say Trump? You know, when Donald Trump does something stupid or is against Westchester in any way, I have spoken out. The state and local tax elimination for the deductions, I have already spoken out. I did 6 months ago when the idea was floated. I've already spoken to members of our congressional delegation. When he made dopey comments along the campaign, including insulting comments, I have spoken out. You can just go look it up, even though George wants to pretend it doesn't exist. Now, when President Obama was in office, I wasn't asked every day what I thought about President Obama. But the one thing that I did speak out against Mr. Obama was simply because he was attacking our county. And it wasn't just personal. He was attacking the 1 million people of our county. And it was his goal to try to get into, as the grand experiment for the nation, as they said, to try to force Westchester to abide by what the federal government wanted us to do. That was a public policy issue that I had a major disagreement on. But when Hillary Clinton announced her candidacy for president, I tweeted, congratulations and good luck. I'm proud that you're a Westchester resident. And I am. And you know what? We should have civility and humility in politics. And we're not seeing a lot of that in these days. But, you know, when Donald Trump does something good, I'm going to say it's good. If it's good for Westchester, and he does something bad and stupid, I'm going to say it. And I have. But, you know, it's amazing how Mr. Latimer has already just, I don't know, I can't even count anymore. I was going to do the 1, 4, and then the line across to make the 5s. I'm running out of space here on all the mistruths that you've already said tonight. And George, I'm not going to let you get away with it. I know you're used to it in the past. I'm not going to let you get away with it. You've said so many things that are completely and utterly false that I'm going to make sure the record is cleared up. And if Donald Trump does something dumb, I'm going to say it, and he has. But you know what? I'm not Donald Trump. I'm Rob Astorino. I've been here 8 years. People know exactly who I am in this county and exactly what I have done. And what I have done is cut taxes and make it a lot more livable for people who are having a hard time under George Latimer's term in Westchester.
30 seconds to you, sir.
What Rob Astorino has done is follow the Trump line. If he's spoken out against Donald Trump, he must have been doing it outside the back door when nobody else heard him, because most of Westchester hasn't heard it. And Rob, in terms of lying, you have wrote the book on how to smoothly misrepresent things. And I think that's what's going to have to happen. You're going to have to look carefully at the things that he's said and done and how he's attached things that aren't accurate. The bottom line is this. Donald Trump has an opportunity to do good things for America, but so far he hasn't shown that's what his wish is. When Barack Obama was wrong on Common Core, I spoke up. When he was wrong on Israel, I spoke up. Let's see if Rob Astorino speaks up on these things with Donald Trump.
I already have.
Okay,
follow my Twitter.
Speak up louder, man. Nobody's hearing you.
The last question on before the audience questions is yours, Mr. Astorino, and we're going to sort of hypothetically pretend that Jeff Bezos, of Amazon CEO, is sitting here. I don't see him. How would you pitch him to select Westchester for Amazon's new headquarters?
I actually wrote Jeff Bezos a handwritten letter and mailed it last week because I'm extraordinarily proud of this county. This is the greatest county anyone could ever live in, over 3,300 counties in America. And we've got everything that Amazon would want and more. We have an extraordinarily diverse county. We're the fourth most diverse county in all of New York, with a growing population. We've got growing wages. We are the #1 educated county in America. 47% of our adults, 25 and over, have at least a bachelor's degree or higher. So that's a tremendous talent pool for Jeff Bezos and Amazon to pull from. And yeah, we want them because we meet all of their criteria. And so we're going after Amazon in a very aggressive way because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to create an atmosphere, and we've held the line on taxes. We'll continue to do that. A pro-business environment. They want that. They want to know they're welcome. They don't want to be chased away like they were in the past. And we also have good corporate neighbors here. You know, I'll tell Indra at Pepsi to go talk to Jeff Bezos and say why they stayed here, because this is the #1 county in the world. And he'll know that because he has a place in New York City, so I'll be more than happy to go pick him up and bring him up to Westchester and take him around, and he could see all the wonderful sights, visit all the wonderful restaurants. Tourism is booming here, the economy is doing well here, and it's the place where Amazon should be.
And you're, well, sir.
And you can do all of that without having an office in New York City that wastes money for business attraction, and without knowing who actually went into that office and what actually they did there. There's no question that we have a terrific educated workforce. We have a transportation system that gives you 3 lines into New York City. We have an airport if we control that airport in the proper ways, and that's why other corporate companies are here, because they have the access to that airport, which would change if you turn it into a heavier commercial airport. And you also have the willingness to try to target benefits from this county. And that is how this county grew under both Democratic and Republican county executives over the years. The taxation issue is a very small part in the county taxes. If you keep the county taxes level, if you think that's what he's done over the last 8 years, that's nothing compared to what the school tax burden is. So we go to Jeff and we explain to him all of the different combination of assets being right outside of New York City. That's why IBM came here, MasterCard, PepsiCo, the other major corporations, and the smaller corporations as well. And in that regard, it is a bipartisan effort to get Amazon here, not a partisan effort. It needs to have the complete involvement of everybody at all different levels of government to make that happen.
Okay, and the follow-up to you, sir. 30 seconds.
Again, you know, we have all the assets that Amazon is looking for, and I would have him connect with the other corporations that are here, MasterCard, PepsiCo, Heineken upstairs. All of these businesses are here because they have a talent pool to draw from. We have that work-life balance that oftentimes women are making decisions now where to move businesses. That's a good thing because we have everything that a woman would want with regard to great schools, with regard to being close to home. That's the kind of decision-making that corporate America is making today. And we fit all the checks of their boxes, and that's a good thing.
And the first by prior agreement, the closing statement goes to Rob Astorino first for 2 minutes, and then Mr. Latimer for 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate it very, very much. Look, we have had a lot of challenges in our 8 years, dealing with a deficit that we inherited, dealing with a HUD situation which we ended up abiding by, complying with, and winning on, not letting the federal government take over our zoning in Westchester County. We have held the line on property taxes. In fact, it is so important to do so because the people in this county have been struggling for years, continuously. And I'm talking about the senior citizen, I'm talking about small business owners, I'm talking about the vast middle class. And the people of this county needed a break, and we put fiscal discipline in this county and put this county back on the right direction. We are booming in this county. We have a tourism boom where film and people coming all over the place to come in here. We have businesses coming to Westchester again. We have a population increase because this is the greatest place on the face of the planet. And I am proud to serve as county executive. And I don't take these challenges lightly because the old way of doing business of just, what do you need, raise taxes, that is what put this county in ruin. We are on firm financial footing right now. Firm financial footing. We finished last year with a $1.5 million surplus. We have not raised taxes. We will not raise taxes. People need a break, and they know that certainty from me. You go in the other direction, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get the tax increases that he gave you as a county legislator. You're going to get the litany of taxes that he supported and voted for in Albany. And you're going to get that mindset that the taxpayer really doesn't matter because the special interests are the ones that matter. I bring to this job a passion from day one. I can't wait to go back to work every single day. And I would be honored to have your vote for a third and final term.
And the closing statement from Mr. Latimer.
Rob Astorino loves this county, but about 4 weeks after this election, if he's successful, he's going to be running for governor, and you know that, and I know that. He's not going to be here for the next 4 years to deal with these problems as they amount. He's not going to be here to deal with the labor obligations that he's ignored. He's not going to be here when he says he has a $1.5 million surplus. That's because you took $15 million from the reserve fund to plug it in for a one-shot deal at the airport that the Board of Legislators intelligently rejected. We're dealing with operating departments like the planning department of the DPW that are shells of what they used to be. They can't function to do the things they did under Andy O'Rourke or under Al Del Bello because of the way Rob Astorino has managed this county. And yet, in the snap of a finger, the problems that we're going to face are going to get infinitely more difficult as these financial chickens come home to roost. My record as a chairman of the Board of Legislators was to cut the county tax levy, but I never said that it cut your county property taxes, because cutting the county levy did not cut the county taxes for 20 or 30% of the people in this county. There are other factors that went into that. And when you lie about that, and you lie about who owns the piece of property, and you lie about what was said in 2014, you tell the people of Westchester, and you're telling the people in New York State, because they're watching this race very closely, and what you say. You're going to say anything you need to win an election. Well, I'm not. I'm not afraid to lose, and I'm not afraid to win. I'm not afraid to govern, and if I'm elected, I will govern this county for 4 years. I will work my best because I love this county too. What I don't love is the rhetoric that I've heard from Rob over the last 8 years. I put myself forward because you need to have an alternate voice. You need to have an intelligent voice, not somebody who's telling you what you want to hear and then turns around, see you later, alligator. I'm landing in Buffalo to go to Cheektowaga and Lancaster. I ask for your support because I will do this job for the next 4 years, not run away from this job in 4 months.